So, Tombe, Padagure, Jite, Jite, Piki. I'm sure most of you don't really know what that term is. It's actually a ballet dance combination that I used to do when I was younger. I've been dancing in ballet for a couple of years now, and I've recently discovered a new genre of dance called modern dance a few years ago. So today I will be talking about the history, technique, and popularity of both ballet and modern dance. So like I said, I've been dancing for 9 years and counting, so researching the history and popularity of this topic made me fall in love with the sport of the art even more. I'm sure that we've all seen some form of ballet, whether it's the Nutcracker during Christmas time, or even the Swan Lake featuring Natalie Portman, but I'm not sure if we're really familiar with modern dance and the technique behind it. So today I want to contrast for you the key differences between modern dance and ballet. First, I want to talk to you about the history, so let's start with ballet. Ballet originated in the Italian Renaissance courts of the 15th century. In the 16th century, Catherine de' Medici, an Italian noblewoman, wife of King Henry II of France, began to fund ballet in the French court. Her elaborate festivals encouraged the growth of ballet de cour, a program that included dance, costumes, song, music, and poetry. So, while ballet is a story of organization, symmetrical movement, traditions of companies, theaters, as well as individuals, modern dance, on the other hand, is entirely different. So it's mostly about the personality, the spirit, and any quirks and hearts of the individual dancers that can make their own philosophies and set their unique styles. So during the 1800s, Isadora Duncan was a predecessor of modern dance, and she stressed on the center of torso, bare feet, loose hair, free-flowing costume, and incorporated humor into emotional expression. She was inspired by classical Greek arts, folk dances, social dances, nature, natural forces, and even new American athleticism, such as skipping, jumping, running, or even abrupt movements. She thought that ballet was ugly and meaningless gymnastics. The studies of excessive gesture had school children, college students, and people all over the country performing all the sort of simplified ballet in bare feet and flowing robes, which is known as modern art. Today, or now that you've expanded your history of knowledge, let's break down the technique differences between the two. Julie Caprio, founder of the San Francisco Ballet Company, says that ballet is based largely on turnout, which is a position where the legs are turned outward from the hip sockets. Turnout allows the dancers to achieve aesthetically pleasing lines. A turnout of 180 degrees is considered ideal, but is rarely achieved even by the best. This hip rotation is actually an unnatural position for the body. So if you really think about it, when we're born, our feet are positioned parallel as opposed to turnout. So turning out isn't the natural form of the body. So when standing in a turned out position, the line of balance or alignment should fall through a spinal column to a point in between the 2 feet. If the primary muscles groups for alignment develops incorrectly, the dancer will never achieve success in ballet unless they do serious retraining from scratch. So it's important to do ballet exercises to develop these muscles for correct alignment. Proper training begins in bar, which is a wooden rod attached to the wall, and students hold their balance while they do the technique. So this is a picture of a woman in her turnout, closely to 180 degrees, but you can see that the bar is right behind her to where they practice and they warm up, as well as mirrors to look at their lining. And she's ready to be putting on her pointe shoes. So speaking of pointe shoes, pointe work is training in toe shoes, and this depends on proper ballet technique and strength that is developed over time. Deformed toes along with leg and back pain can result if the training is substandard. The bones in the feet are still growing in younger dancers, so starting on pointe work too early can damage the leg's point, or child's leg's joints. So you can see that these are the feet of the dancer. You can tell that on the left side that the emphasis on her knuckles is there. So she's obviously been dancing for a couple of years now, and that's pretty much how her feet look like now. On the right side, you just can tell that her feet are beaten up, but on the right side, you won't know what's underneath. According to John Freebury, director of Merce Cunningham Dance Company, says, modern is a relatively new in comparison to ballet. This doesn't mean that the structure is difficult or difficulty is any less. Specific techniques techniques have been developed over the past 100 years or so that began originally to rebel against the poise and formal structure of classical ballet. So, in other words, ballet or modern dance can be danced with or without ballet shoes, but modern dancers don't really use point shoes. So in modern dance, anything goes, since they can be earthy. They can walk heel-toe, meaning that you can turn with your heels flexed, you can jump with your heels flexed, and it can be totally okay. But if ballet dancers were to see that, they would look down upon that. So Jeanette Alibert, artistic director of Martha Graham Company in New York, claims that early pioneers like Martha Graham, modern dance now encompasses a wide range of styles, many of which are associated with renowned schools and masters. There are thousands of types of modern dance, including the Graham and Horton technique. So now that you know the technique between the two dances, whether you're on point or barefooted, you might be wondering which genre is more popular. I'm sorry. Well, this is the flex feet. Yeah. You can tell by like the left side that the woman is in her flowy costume, and the man on the right is doing an intertwined style between ballet and modern, which is flex feet and pointer feet. So, interest in ballet is perhaps as high as it's been. So, if we all remember Natalie Portman in The Black Swan, her character portrayed the Black Swan herself, and Rob Daniels from the City of Ballet spokesman said in the New York Times that everyone is crazy about ballet because of Natalie Portman. Our Swan Lake is the hottest ticket in town right now. As for modern dance, today modern dance continues to be popular across the world. Ballet companies have begun incorporating modern dance not only into their class repertoire, but their performances as well. Modern dance is only the art forms that allow free expression, as why it remains to be loved as many. So you can tell that she's free-flowing. And the ability to free yourself while you dance is a quality that not many forms of dance poses. With modern dance, there are no boundaries. You simply dance through your feelings, which creates an extraordinary art form. So today I contrasted for you the key differences between ballet and modern that consisted of not only their history, but their technique and popularity. As you can clearly see, the ballet is more demanding on the body. In ballet, you have to work more on posture, the turnout, and the core, and get yourself to a certain level to start point work. As for modern, it's mostly the expression of the body and staying grounded to the earth. It's easier to go from ballet to modern, but than modern to ballet. So ballet also gets you great legs and better posture, and it's better for your body, but modern is more fun and less stressful. And this is me in a competition. I'm in a group that is strictly only for modern dance. You can tell that like from our costume, it's more of like a free-flowing, and then we're obviously barefooted. So I prefer modern dance more than anything because it's better on my body, but I do still come back to ballet every now and then. Thank you.
Can you tell me the time on that? Because I didn't.
8 minutes and 12 seconds.
All right, thank you. All right, Jacob, what did you think?
I thought your purpose statement was very clear. You gave a history of, you stated that you were going to talk about the history and the popularity of dance. You did a clear introduction and how it related to us as well as yourself. You did use a good chronological order when you talked about like, the history of it. But with that, I think we could have used maybe a little more sources on that, like cited in the speech. I don't know if I caught those or not, but I mean, there's a lot of information there, so maybe a little bit more of where you got it from. The transitions connected the main points nicely. Your conclusion wraps up the speech really well with your personal experience in the subject. But even with that, you kind of read most of your speech, and with that, it kind of seemed like it was like a textbook sort of speech to say, because I think you have more of a personal experience to it, so you can have a little bit more excitement on the subject. So that's just my opinion.
No, I think that's an insightful comment. It's a subject that you know and are enthusiastic about talking about, and you've done a lot of research, but I think you've kind of focused so much on the research that you forget to convey to us your enthusiasm about the subject, and you are doing a little bit more reading than you want to do. Let me rephrase it, a lot more reading than you want to be doing. It needs to flow a lot more naturally. Now, I would agree with a lot of the things that Jacob just said. I think that you've got a very clear identification of the topic, an excellent thesis statement. I didn't think that the preview was as thorough as it needed to be. I knew I was going to be getting a contrast, but I didn't know what all the different kinds of contrasts were going to be. Now, you signposted them pretty well because we get visual reference, and sometimes there's a good label there. I think the transitions could be a little bit more interesting, but it was not hard to follow, despite the fact that we have kind of a parallel development. It's sort of like ballet, modern dance, ballet, modern dance, ballet, modern dance on all of the supporting points when you're doing that comparison. But because we get used to that, I think it worked pretty well. Like I said before, there's a lot of information in the speech. I thought you cited your resources very effectively. I like the visual materials for the most part. I do think a couple of them should have come earlier. When you were describing the the turnout position, for instance, I kept imagining, and then you went into this long description, and I kept thinking, okay, so what does this look like? And finally, just before you get to the next thing that you're going to be talking about, you give us the image. I think it would have been helpful to have maybe had that image at the start of that process, and then we would understand a little bit more some of the things that you're describing. There's a similar kind of thing that happens also in another spot where it felt like your visual image came at the end and it should have been at the beginning, and I forget which point it was. When you watch back, I think you'll probably figure that out. All right. And I think you do have that nice personal story at the end, and that gets you away a little bit from doing all of the script sort of thing, and that's what you need to do more in the speech. All right, thank you.